Hello, Canna Patient Resource Connection members and prospective members. Today we are going over our draft bylaws, and I figured because this is such a compelling part of what we do, and I know everybody's going to be so interested in this, I figured it'd be actually easier to go ahead and just do a video and go over what this document is and what it means for Canna Patient Resource Connection. So these bylaws are draft bylaws. They are not approved bylaws as of yet. They are going to be posted via this video in our main group and on our page on Facebook for everybody to vote on. And once they become approved bylaws, this video, as long as there are no changes, this video will stay. So even though it says draft bylaws, you could be listening to this after the passage of the bylaws. So just know that these actually could be our bylaws. All right, let's start. We have 11 pages to get through. Okay, the first article is just our name and where we're headquartered. The second article is the article of organization, and these what this basically states is our organizational docs. The things that govern what CPRC does are going to be the bylaws, the code of conduct agreement, and our mission statement. And we're actually taking the position out of that. So let me save that. All right. So those are the three governing and binding docs for CPRC and its representatives. Okay, so the first main section that we get to here, Article 3 are the purposes, and these are the goals. We're here to provide community and patient education, outreach programs to improve the potential for positive treatment outcomes, and to support the patient community. We're here to directly evaluate policies and legislation that directly impact the patient community and or viable access to phytocannabinoids. So that basically says that we can look at and evaluate policies that directly impact our patients and directly impact anything that could mess with the viable access to cannabis. We're here to promote an environment that ends the stigma. We're here to inform voters where each of their elected officials or candidates stands on the therapeutic use of cannabis during issues or during election cycles. And we're also here to educate you and inform you about upcoming changes to local and state policy that could impact your access. Next, letter E. We're here to make sure that the entities providing phytocannabinoid therapy to you guys respect your constitutional and legal patient rights and use best practices to produce your cannabis. That means we're here to make sure that the industry itself doesn't fight directly against your right to cultivate, your right to make your own medicine, etc., etc. We're here to reach out to other patient groups and encourage teamwork to solve common issues. The more groups that work together to solve these issues, the better. G, we're here to encourage the entire cannabis community to get involved with their local municipalities and neighborhoods to create positive change and to humanize cannabis patients within their respective locations. The more positive interactions everybody has with cannabis patients, the less stigma that we're going to have and the more human our issue becomes. It's not just an us versus them. It's a we become human to them, and we do provide a positive impact on the community, so that's very important. And H, to increase patient access to holistic therapies, therapists, and resources so that they may learn how to incorporate those therapies into their treatment plans. So pretty self-explanatory stuff. All right, Section 2 of Article 3, it just goes over our purposes. We're here Our purposes, which were denoted above, are promoted through education, outreach, industry involvement, and advocacy, directly directed towards basically everybody, but registered cannabis patients, unregistered cannabis patients, the recreational community, local businesses, and the general public. We will develop strategies to achieve the mission based on those things as well. And that paragraph just goes on to explain how we are going to maintain reasonable contact with other groups, et cetera, so that we stay up to date with what the locals are saying, what their needs are, and what impacts we're truly having. Despite a lot of backlash, you can take out a lot of the emotional stuff, but there may be one or two issues embedded in there that we as a community need to deal with, and we need to be receptive to that. And that's basically what that says. We will work to foster partnerships. We are not a standalone, it's got to be us first, only us kind of institution or corporation. We value partnerships and unification. Let's see. And that just says that we're going to be governed by these other policies. And this section here, section 3, was amended to add the organization is organized exclusively for charitable or educational purposes and is a registered and incorporated 501c3. And it goes on with our tax ID and all of that. I'm going to change this because we are incorporated, so technically we are a corporation. Apparently I can't type and talk at the same time. All right. Article 4 goes over our basic policies. Non-commercial, non-sectarian, non-partisan, work to promote a safe environment for cannabis patients, to promote collaboration between everybody. The organization will remain neutral on all political campaigns and solely educate the public concerning a candidate's or an elected official's views on cannabis-related issues. And that's incredibly important. We shall not endorse any candidate, and neither will any of our volunteers while they are representing us. A CPRC member or executive board member can and absolutely is encouraged to endorse candidates or talk about them on their personal pages and at events where they are not specifically representing a Cannabis Patient Resource Connection. It would be a violation of our nonprofit status for us to endorse any type of candidate and to speak on any other issues other than ones related specifically to our mission. So that is in here. Let's see. And that goes on to talk about how we will engage in policies directly related to our mission. All right, D, Cannabis Patient Resource Connection will work with the community to provide quality educational materials and seek to be involved in decision-making processes governing cannabis regulation while objectively discussing the genuine issues arising from the public. So that's basically a repeat of that, but it's in there just to kind of validate the fact that we will be talking to elected officials about issues that do affect our membership. E, the organization will not enter into any partnership agreements or contracts without a 2/3 board of directors vote. Net earnings are 100% reinvested into the organization and used solely for the goals and purposes therein. That means the net earnings aren't hanging around to take people on vacations, things like that. And then G is our dissolution clause. What happens to everything that we have, all of our assets, should CPRC cease to exist? And basically it says nobody keeps anything and everything has to be given away to other nonprofit organizations. So this is not a money-making thing at all. All right, membership and dues. Currently, we don't charge any type of membership dues. So Section 1 says that we are non-discriminatory and it's open membership. So Section 2 there says that we can conduct a membership drive at any time of the year, but we are required to at least have one. every single year. Each member of CPRC shall pay annual dues, and this is where the dues come in. The amount of dues shall be determined by the organization, which that went up way too fast. Hey, yep, down. All right. How did that get up so fast? All right, there we go. All right, basically the amount of dues are going to be decided. So at a later date, if we decide to charge membership dues specifically, this is the procedure for having to change them. The dues shall be determined by the organization, and it has to be passed by a 3/4 executive board vote, and as a bylaw amendment. They have to be published 30 days in advance, require a general session vote, which means you guys get to vote on them. And let's see, and I can take that part out because that was part of what I amended. And then there's also a little clause in here that says any membership fee instituted by CPRC is going to be nominal, which means we're not going to charge hundreds of dollars for memberships. We're not even going to charge like $50 or $20 or anything like that. It would be a very nominal type fee. And if you are truly a patient in hardship, the membership fee can be waived. So we don't want to be charging patients a lot of money for anything. So charging a nominal membership due, like $2 or $3 or whatever it might be, may become necessary to keep membership lists and to validate those. So, and then the membership calendar is January 1st through December 31st. So it reflects our fiscal calendar. Officers in their election. Section 1 just basically says this is what CPRC will consist of. We have the founders, and then if the founders retire or leave, a president or co-presidents can be elected, vice president or co-vice president, the secretary and treasurer. So you have 4 board positions that are official, and then you can have the possibility of 6. All right, as far as executive board goes, not board of directors, just executive board. Section 2 defines how long the co-founders can remain on the executive board, and then the process to find somebody afterwards. And every 5 years, that person who serves in the leadership position has to be evaluated and re-voted in by the executive board. So that way, if the person after 5 years is doing a crap job, you can get rid of them fairly easily, for the most part. So section 3, it talks about the appointment of the first executive board, which is what we are going to appoint, and we are still in the process of appointing that. We have a very vibrant board of directors, but we are still looking to fill some positions on the executive board as of this recording. So, and then it goes on for talks about the procedure for getting them and voting on them. Anybody who is not a founder there and after. So section 4 talks about when officers will assume their duties, which is the first of the year, and how long a term is. So it's every 2 years that the officers below a founder or president are going to be evaluated. And that's how that works. So section 5, a midterm vacancy, that just kind of goes on to talk about the procedure. If something happens during the term of an officer, say they should leave, that's how you would deal with it. Okay, and these are the duties spelled out for each of the executive officers. Of course, we presided all the CPRC meetings, and other duties, ex officio member of all committees, coordinate all the work, we can represent CPRC, we perform tie-breaking services for executive boards and committees, and work with the executive board and committee chairs to assist in the recruitment and placement of volunteers. This is what our vice president, oops, let me go back up here. This is what our vice president has. as their duties. Basically the same thing. They act as aides to us. They can perform our duties in our absence, and other duties as assigned by the association. Of course, they're shared in the event of co-vice presidents. So, and these are the duties for secretary. Secretary has a very specific position there. Oops. And there you go. They have to record the meeting minutes of all CPRC meetings and submit them to the executive board within 5 days after each meeting. They have to keep up and have signed copies of the current bylaws, maintain an up-to-date membership list should we ever get one, perform other duties as assigned, keep the copy and file of all official correspondence, which is articles of incorporation, IRS information, tax documents, all agendas, all minutes, and any type of official correspondence, like letters to the bank, etc., etc. They work with the committee chairs, and can definitely find a stand-in when unable to perform recording duties at CPRC meetings. Okay, this is the nitty-gritty, which is what everybody's really concerned with, which is the treasurer. The treasurer has to have has custody of all the funds of Canada Patient Resource Connection in conjunction with at least one founder or president, which means that there are 2 people on the bank account at all times, and one of them has to be a founder or a president. We cannot run this organization and not be aware of what's happening with the money. That's basically what that says. The treasurer does have custody of that because they will be on the bank account and maintaining those funds, but we also will be involved in that process. So they have to keep full and accurate amount of receipts and expenditures and provide a monthly income expenditures report. So every single month we're going to have a balance, a starting balance, money's in, money's out, and then ending balance. So everybody can see where the money is going and what's happening. The treasurer can make the disbursements as authorized, by the budget. That's what they're there for, basically. They can have checks or all checks or vouchers basically have to be signed by 2 people or authorized by 2 people. The treasurer is going to be one person, and then one other is going to be most likely a founder or vice president. And the other authorized signer of the checks, let's see, I'm just going to take that out. So, all right, there we go. So the founder, the president, must be co-signer. There we go. That just solves that right there. All right, so everything has got to be signed by 2 people. It's going to be the founder or the president, or it's going to be the and then the treasurer, so that 2 people are always aware at every time what money is going in and what money is going out. All right. Every month every meeting we get a financial statement, and then if we request one, we get one as well. That's what E is for. The treasurer is responsible for making a full report to all incoming officers during their first meeting and after the first official term. So as we induct new boards of directors, the treasurer will inform them of where we are with funds and how all of that works. The treasurer will be responsible for the maintenance of such books and accounts and comply with both the IRS and CPRC requirements. They have accounts examined annually and upon the change of officers by an auditor or an auditing committee, not fewer than 3 members, who was satisfied that the treasurer's annual report is correct shall sign a statement of that fact and end at the end of the report. So basically, every year the books are audited, And every time there's incoming officers, a change of officers, for instance, if the founders have retired and the board is changing every 5 to 10 years or so, you want to make sure the outgoing board followed all procedures, and the incoming board is starting off with a clean and good to go slate. So, and I just, again, it's just a reinforcement of the submitting the books annually for audit by an auditing committee, and it goes over the time period in which that must be done. So all financial records are going to be audited. They have to be signed off by at least 2 members of the executive board, and every month the monies in and out are going to be reported to the general public. Okay. 6. It just talks about the return of any CPRC materials, books, or records should the officers decide that they cannot perform the duties and resign. All right, executive board. This is what the executive board will do, and the executive board specifically is just the founders or a president, vice presidents or co-vice presidents, secretary, and treasurer. That's it. It's all the actual officers. The president can appoint, or the co-founder can appoint, a parliamentarian. Let me just put that in there real quick. All right. They can appoint a parliamentarian, and the parliamentarian shall retain all their voting rights, et cetera, et cetera. I know some agencies, if you have a parliamentarian, they don't vote, but this person shall retain all the rights of membership. All right, the duties of the executive board: transact the necessary business between associating meetings and other such businesses as deemed necessary to promote the goals and mission of CPRC. So basically, we get to do all the work in between meetings. B, to create, we have the ability to create special committees as needed for project management, which is going to come in handy in case we get grants. We get to approve the plans of work for CPRC committees. So if you're a committee member, your plan for running that committee, we have to approve it. We present a business report at each board of directors and general assembly meeting, which basically is an overview of this is what we've done, this is what we've accomplished, this is where we're going, and what's in the works. E, we get to select an auditor or auditing committee. Yes, I'm tired. Auditing committee. Oh my goodness, yeah. I probably need to go to bed soon. Auditing committee to audit the treasurer's accounts. We get to select all of that. We prepare and submit a budget at the beginning of each calendar year to be approved by the General Assembly, and it has to be posted 30 days prior to the General Assembly vote, and a General Assembly vote should occur no later than 60 days into the calendar year. And our fiscal year starts February 1st. So generally by the end of March, you have to have your budget for that year approved. All right. Executive board is to approve payment of outstanding debts within the limits of the budget. And then we do have this emergency clause in here. Let me scroll down a little bit. H is to improve spending between meetings up to but not exceeding the amount of $500. That means we can approve an emergency spending that isn't in the budget of up to $500, but not over. Anything over that has got to go to a General Assembly. And the executive board may add line items to the budget specifically to accommodate restricted fund grants that were awarded unexpectedly. So what that says is if we get a weird grant that we weren't expecting at all, we can go ahead and add that line item specific to that grant to accommodate those monies coming in. All right, we review and act on all recommendations. We approve the budget. prior to being posted, establish public policy and legislative agenda, establish policy based on strategic plan. All right, and I think we're just about almost done. Yes, we are. All right, section 4, this just talks about how we'll have 3 regular meetings. The majority of executive board members shall constitute a quorum for executive board meetings. Let's see. Majority special meetings of the executive board. No members will be left out. Oh, and it talks about secret meetings. No secret meetings on topics requiring General Assembly votes will be conducted. Noticed a couple nonprofits, not cannabis nonprofits, but just nonprofits in general that are kind of sketchy with that, especially when it comes to legislation and things like that. Google Georgia PTA if you want to find out more about that. All executive board members will conduct themselves according to CPRC's Code of Conduct, and that is a binding governing document. All right, section 5 goes over compensation. This is to ensure that we don't line our pockets with other people's money that's supposed to go to patients. So no officer shall receive a salary from CPRC until it is financially stable and does not compromise the mission, position, or goals of CPRC. When salaries are enacted, they shall be modest and come second to the organization, and no more than a quarter of our funding can be used towards salary positions when salaries become an option for us. And then all salaries will not exceed a livable wage, which means that we will get a wage that we can live off of, because you can't do these things unless you can eat. But it's not going to be something that we can, that's going to make us rich or buy us nice cars or things like that. Basically what this says is that the money really needs to be focused on our mission rather than salaries. So the goal of the section, of course, is to avoid all of those inflated salaries and things like that as we move down the path. All right, this section 6 goes over special meeting policy and what it takes to call a special meeting, and how they should be called. And this goes over, we have 6 executive board meetings a year and 3 general assembly meetings per calendar year. The election shall be held when we do have elections for officers, November, December, depending on the nominees available. So if there are no nominees and people are running unopposed, there's no election for that. 6 members of the General Assembly will constitute a quorum. So that's what our quorum is for General Assembly, and be allowed to vote on items present. So, and it talks about how all General Assembly votes are won by a majority, except for circumstances outlined within these bylaws. And there are a couple that require 2/3 vote or a 3/4 vote. Committees. All right. Only CPRC members with a year of consistent volunteerism and project management shall be appointed to committee chair positions. Executive boards, we can create or eliminate committees as necessary. And let's see, section 3, a chairperson. The chairperson will be given budget guidelines and plans from similar events and projects if available, and it talks about budget concerns regarding committees. All right, in section 4, all the officers are going to be ex officio members. Founders shall be ex officio members, and all committee chairpersons will be members of CPRC's board of directors. This goes over the fiscal year, February 1st to January 31st. Parliamentary authority, we're going to go by Robert's rules, except in cases where they conflict with the bylaws. Amendments, the bylaws can be amended, and this is the procedure for that. Notice has to be given 30 days prior to the meeting where the amendment is being moved, and a quorum has got to be established at the meeting. And then it talks about a committee to review and resubmit bylaws can be established by a 3/4 vote of the executive board. So if we find we need an amendment, we can create one. It still has to be approved, though, by the General Assembly in order to be adopted. All right, constituent chapters. This is for CPRC of Illinois or CPRC of Georgia. Section 1 defines what they are. Section 2, the board of directors of that particular entity shall determine the criteria for establishing constituent. Oh, we shall determine this. This says, Section 2 says, we shall determine the criteria, licensing agreement, and standards for being affiliated with Canada Patient Resource Connection, and amend the bylaws as such. So we have not determined those criteria yet, and should the situation arise, that's probably when we will take care of that. The Section 3 just says the purposes and basic policies of CPRC shall in every case also be the purposes of all of our constituent organizations, and each constituent organization shall adopt bylaws for the government of their association. They will not conflict with our main bylaws, and our main bylaws are basically binding to them. So that allows them to adopt individual bylaws to meet individual needs, but they still have to use ours as a guideline. And that's it. That is what CPRC's bylaws are, and I'm going to be posting this video as soon as I possibly can, as soon as I get approval from the executive board. And hopefully within 30 days these bylaws will be passed, and this is how CPRC is going to be governed. All right, thank you very much.